Oh boy. Oh boy. There we go. Let me open my chat. Things didn't go well the first time, so I'm going to start from the beginning of chapter 2.
ブライヤーロードの歩道で起こった姿なき犯人による冬の夜の惨劇。背中を刺され倒れた裏若きレディが生死をさまよううちに事件は解決した。窮地に陥った東洋人の留学生が我が友人によって救い出されたその晩、ガス灯の刻むほの暗い影の中、再び奇怪な事件が闇を切り裂いた。当時の新聞の戦場的な見出しを記憶している者も多いだろう。悪霊に見入られた死の邸宅、死刑囚の呪い、ガス魔人の恐怖。現場に駆けつけた名探偵は瞬時にその真相を看破するのだが、それは悲劇の舞台の幕開けを告げるプレリュードに過ぎなかったのである。
I voice acted this once already. I'm just gonna get to the point where I was left off, but I'll leave the thing playing at normal speed. Sounds like a dog. Ah yes, the bacon. Smells just like bacon in here, as it always does, every single day. Ah, I can see your pixels from here. Are they only having bacon? Are they having nothing else? Just bacon and tea. We were there. We won that case. Why does my entire house smell like lavender all of a sudden? I think I'm having a stroke. Okay, that's mean. Don't have a cow pan. What is a handsome? I tried doing this yesterday, but something happened. I had to stop the recording about an hour in, so I have to do it again. Of course, he suspected that they were gay. Yes, there's that orb-shaped woman who was stabbed. Do not feed the woman. There is a concerningly big mouse over here. Is Miss Olive Green going to accuse everyone she talks to of stabbing her? The mouse doesn't have anything anywhere to go right now. Hello! Yeah. A fiacre? Fiacre? Fiacre. I don't know what that is. So, as a framing device, this is taking place in the past, which doesn't help because I'm using the updated outfit that they gave him, so that means I wore this updated outfit for the day after the 4th case, but not before the 5th case. Which ruins all the continuity. Oh no! It's a guy. Why does he have a cape? W. O. R. M. Worm. Worm. Ooh, ooh. Real life children's book author Saseki Natsume. He doesn't have a chin. Chinless freak. His head is a neck. All right, I'm almost back to where I was. I have to talk to Inspector over here. Mr. William Shakespeare. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. Bit of a dead loss as it happens, or just dead. Mr. Shakespeare. He was the landlord of Mr. Old Garadeb and his bitch wife, and Mr. Natsume, who found him. The fella didn't raise at his usual hour, so Garadeb got worried and kicked the door down. But doesn't Mr. Garadeb have a bad leg? Oh yeah, you're right there. There's that jittery Japanese hunchback over there that actually did the kicking. The victim was actually pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for petty crimes. But he had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house, and my thing of fries and chips and fish. Miserable life and a miserable end to it. What exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation. Shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it's because the fella looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But I thought it'd be prudent to make a statement from the cohabitor. I think we said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear, Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. Certainly seems that way, or does he come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he? Poor man, how unfortunate. Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fella's been gone over that long. The body's still warm. Even if the inspector wouldn't allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. You. What a horrible night to have a curse. Well, it's been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then after I finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. So the victim lived here on the ground floor. Your room was 1 story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. But did you know the victim? Were you friends? No. The matter with Saseki's-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. Ever invite me to his room? No, never! On my honor, I swear it. What extreme reaction. Probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? We found him here. I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. That inspector over there. What the fuck are you doing? Ah, you only need to observe to know it, my dear fellow investigating, naturally. Nothing natural about that pose. Got a bitch. Mr. Holmes, you made some miraculous discovery. Patience, my dear madam, patience. We're not here in this room for 5 minutes so far. All I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness. But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Holmes? Ah, now that you propose the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, present day, ha ha ha, I have managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first, there was a physical struggle here last night and the victim fought for his life. Ah! Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Holmes said have significance somehow? No, don't mind me. I forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air last night that passed the victim's lips. Nonsense! Ah! Alright, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please, pretend that I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Possible to ignore. Must tell us everything, Mr. Holmes. Spare no detail. He called me gay for like an hour. But of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions, presented for pleasure, your pleasure, in 2 acts. Some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt those will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? My dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Sherlock Holmes' logic and reasoning, spectacular. Act 1. Careful observation of the victim reveals this events that had transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice an entire thing of butter. A large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, a lot of butter. Half of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful into... Why is the soap set so purposely upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. You can't lie to me, that's butter. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course. The fork reveals the answer. It appears the young man's appetite was his undoing. Picking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. And yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain. In the end, he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. And London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the butter. The butter and the leather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of the foul candle wax, of course. Butter. Just replace that with butter. Cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Is this man gay? God damn it! Guns recall that the death occurred during the victim's last supper. If the man dine and die alone, this single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal would have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the secret, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, the door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his butter, hence wafted an inferior buttery scent. And with that an acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We take comfort in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on his way to the hereafter. Died because of butter. Butter death. Farewell! So he ate butter and died. Just one thing, Mr. Holmes. You're disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think a man would have eaten soap? Well, clearly that's butter. Well, it's quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to a son so destitute, soap can appear quite irresistibly appetizing. I, too, have wanted to just eat a bar of soap before. How extraordinary. In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. And did it? No! Diarrhea. For the next 3 days. Just constant stream of bullshit. And it's not at the same end that it normally is either. Experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is poisonous. It was an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, diarrhea. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. Something that troubles me as well, actually. Why isn't he shit himself? Mr. Natsume. Ah! I couldn't help not notice him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Mr. Sholmes' deduction touched a nerve somehow. One man couldn't possibly eat that much butter. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, Great Detective's deduction may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observation and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp, and how fucking wrong he is. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it at an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the keywords in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions. And discreetly exchange them for something that makes more sense. Like butter. We could do that. Well, I'm sure we'll sing. In that case, you are ready for the second performance of the day. Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Sherlock Holmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1, Part 2. Yeah, we're like homestuck. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies a man was eating something, or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should probably use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks. And of course, only half of the bar of soap's left on the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap? I suppose you eat soap with a fork, would you? I don't think it's a question of the implement you'd use. You shouldn't eat soap, full stop. Then why? Why does the man have a fork in his hand? Oh dear, I understand your frustration, Mr. Naruhodo, but please don't take it out on me. Shut up! Let the man use this fork to eat the soap. We wouldn't be changing Mr. Sholmes' deduction. Gotta consider some other clues. Hey. There's butter on the floor. Mr. Shakespeare must have loved this shit. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at this soap. You see it would fit together perfectly with the other soap? This is the biggest soap bar. Like, hold on. Let's go back. Let's go back to his fucking head. This soap is so fucking big compared to his... Look at this fucking thing. What? Hold on a fucking minute. What is on my shoulder? Be that the man was about to eat it, of course. The other piece of soap reveals the answer. Being the other half of the soap bar on the table, Sherlock, you stupid fuck. It's obvious, really. But no depths of hunger could drive any man to eat the soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, he only took a single bite. and I got diarrhea. That begs the question about how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soap is searched by foul poison. Jones is still pushing the soap thing, suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it. If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. No signs of any food in this room at all. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? Teacup. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed. Cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. I see that you're drinking from a cup. It would appear that the victim drank every last drop of this cup. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room. Is to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Why do I have a little mouse guy on my shoulder? I don't like, what? The cause of death identified. As we proceed to Act 2, we ponder the next question. Was this by suicide or murder? The audience recall that the death occurred during the victim's last supper of cheese, or this giant thing of butter. The man die alone. This single ketchup. This the answer. The Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It already featured heavily in our deduction so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. Nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me, Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes' suggestion. There's more to this deduction than it seems. We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for more clues. Hey, wait a fucking minute. That's another. It's a teacup, you fuck. And his two it too is empty. Actually, holding this one in his hand. You can assume that this is the cup from which Mr. Shamspeare was actually drinking. That's the case. Changes everything. Everything we do up to now is turned on its head. It's complete bullshit. I have a bad feeling about this, but I almost don't want to say it. Yes, I know exactly how you feel. Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along, and 2 gigantic bars of soap. Ah! In other words, this is a strong indication that the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. This guy. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in the room last night, drinking tea with the victim. What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. And to draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more do we do to deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, the Allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. You mean to say you know exactly who was in the room at the time of the victim's death? Not sure I like where this deduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap. The identity of the guest who was in here last night and the victim passed away is... we have a very bad feeling about. It's a candle! At first glance, it seems the only thing in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially. I wonder what they are. Let's see, the titles read... The Picture of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and A Meal for Gaborio. Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before. It should be an incredible coincidence, but... they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. The second I saw it, I'd just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right. And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim. Yeah, Mr. Natsume claims to never have been here before. That fucking bitch. What does this mean, do you think? I really don't know what to make of it. Indeed. What reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Right so. A more mere coincidence that these 3 titles are in this room. It's the link to the truth. Ah! Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at the secondhand shop. That's just a coincidence. In that case, you'll be able to bring these 3 titles from your own room, will you not? At this very moment. No, never. Non-negotiable. I'm sexy. Can't bring your own copies here. It proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. I haven't purchased these. I don't know why I like that pose. You were arrested the very next day. You could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Oh, he's getting down! Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in his room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor was you, bitch. This little, like, this little fucking mouse on my shoulder is distracting. That concludes the final act of your luck, Sholmes' great deduction. You did it, bitch. Seki Natsume at the scene of the crime. Well, you did it. High school. Her guy. I'm gonna poop right now. Not again, not again, not again. Not again! Well then, Mr. Natsume. It would appear you're gonna have to be accompanying me down to the yard again. But wait! Hold your horses! Yes, my horses are held. Door, key, locked. Entry, exit, entirely impossible. He's so flustered he's being even stranger than normal. What, you think that's an alibi? Could have just made a copy. What? We live in the same building after all. You have plenty of opportunity, I'm sure. Misery me! Sorry, sir. You'll have to get your chance in your side of the story later. Facts speak for themselves, Mr. Moustache. You horrible bitch. He's found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come on now, no dilly-dallying. Outside, there's a carriage waiting. Mocha mohubba hubba and Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but you have to help me. Please. Please. I'm innocent. Alright, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. And one more thing. Oh, yes? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me. So I gave his cat breakfast. The incriminating deduction of the great detective. Ah, that's me. My dear fellow, what honor belongs to you? Well, at least that means Inspector Grex is no longer here. He can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. And of course... What? Why is John Garrideb in so many of these fucking cases? What this? A part of an envelope, I think. I think you may be right. Perhaps it was turned off when the letter was opened. Is that significant? It will be significant. Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps, when you look around the room. No sign of a letter or the rest of the envelope, in fact, is there? Ah, she's right. Yeah, but here we have the torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual. I want to be a king. A daimyo or such like. With a chonmage top knot. Every Japanese man wishes he had a chonmage. Oh, you look wonderful with one. You already have the sword. I would have been totally fine with adding a Chonmage as a fucking character design. His bald ass lawyer. Donate all his broken wine glasses to the needy. Why is the window bricked up? A vestige of the former window tax that Britons had to pay. As though an amateur had broken out a few of them just here. The Mr. Shamsweir who did it, I wonder? Being the lodger renting this room. Look at this, Mr. Naruhodo. On the outside, there's a little ledge. It's where he keeps his butters. This guy loves butter, baby. So cold outside, you can feel it through this gap. It did snow all last night. It would be cold. More importantly, look at this window butter. Look at this soap. It looks like the Hinamaru flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. Probably a very expensive brand of soap. Expensive? What's it doing in this ramshackle old room? Poor man, so young to die. So is this a very painful breath being poisoned as he was? I don't know, all we can do now is hope that he'll be reborn to a better life. Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder. Think that putting our hands together on a Japanese prayer will help a British soul? Sorry? The beginner's guide to praying from the departed the British way. Why is that floorboard down here loose? Did someone Danganronpa in here? You're right, there is no wax statue of Kaede in here. That's why they call London Fart City. Looks like you're having a good snoop around day. Inspector Gregson. And the guy with the mustache and the guy without the mustache. After I threw that little Japanese fella in the clink, I reported this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this place will be cordoned off by the yard. I see, well, we'd better be leaving then. And Mr. Natsume must be feeling really low being back in a cell again so soon. I'm sure we should probably go and... What the fuck? What's wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, fuck, he made a contract with Suka and I just knew it. Fuck. Yeah! Out, brief candle lights but a walking shadow, a poor player. That struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next part? Is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Indeed! Oh, happy day. I'm dead. What? The Walking Dead! Norman Reedus! The fella isn't dead at all? What's that nonsense he was saying, though? I think, yes, it was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. Pulling from Act 5, Scene 5. Shakespeare. So it was. The victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, came back to life. The man had indeed been poisoned and transpired that it hadn't killed him. He's taken by emergency carriage to a nearby hospital for treatment. Inspector Gregson evicted us from the scene of the crime, whatever that now was. What do you think will happen now? Good question. A strange situation where Mr. Natsume arrested for murder, but the victim comes back to life. Like the victim was never dead in the first place. Very likely that Mr. Shakespeare did consume poison, as we deduced. But it was an accident. Attempted suicide or attempted murder? Till the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Natsume in custody. Suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything more than a night in the cells. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over here? Looks like he's trying to see to Saseki-san's lodgings. Something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Excuse me. Could we have a word? Ah! Teleport! He just ran off. I feel so sure. I feel sure that I've been seeing that man before. Where was it? Here too, but I don't remember. Except on the top floor where Mr. and Mrs. Garrett live, all the windows are bricked up. There seems to be a bicycle outside the Garrett residence. I read that bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact. That one seems very warped, though, especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think? No, I'm afraid that it may be a result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider might have been similarly afflicted. And there's a good chance Mr. Natsume's been practicing on his bicycle, I think. Oh dear. I fear you may be right. somebody built a snowman in some sort of pedestal, do you think? It's not a pedestal, Mr. Naruhodo. That's part of the snowman's body. Really? But it has a perfectly good body. Well, it's true that British snowmen are usually made with 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner. Or looking at him as if he's strange. Poor man, I know how he feels. I think it's the Japanese and British 2-ball snowmen are the strange ones, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections. Head, torso, legs, nothing else. Think that perhaps you think about things too much? Here we are again, the eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode. Because Mr. Garrett's the one who discovered the incident this morning, don't forget. Ah, you chaps, eh? Yes, good morning, sir. Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday. Quite a trial. Much for Mr. Garrett as anyone, really. Came straight back here after all the business at the Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up one more bally nonsense this morning. I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garrett. Yes, I suppose you'd like to know about all that dead loss of an actor chap in the ground floor room. Those are exactly Inspector Gregson's words. It's the Moon Man. Been a real shock for you this morning. Hear that you discovered what had happened. Ah, well, that hopeless actor chap raises at 5 o'clock at sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. I went down and knocked on his door, but no bally answer. That's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door? Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course. Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have been overslept by half an hour. Very true, Mr. Naruhodo. Only if 30 minutes oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your down every morning. Kick down your door every morning. Well, you know, better to be safe than sorry and all that. Just because we're avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden. God damn it, is he gonna be another whatever. But that was a sorry situation indeed that you found yourself on the far side of a door. His name is Mr. Shamspear, I believe. Is that right? Yes, William Shamspear. Took the ground floor room 3 months ago now. And how would you describe him? In a word, destitute. Destitute? Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place such as that is either broke or has a bally screw loose. I'll choose which category Saseki-san will fall into. Mr. Naruhodo, that's a little rude. He was doing research as well. Research into what? Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare. The only writer he thinks of. Had a few plays of the old bard myself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that. Romeo and Hamlet were fucking. Known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated. It's incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sao, though. It's too heavy-handed there. A lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there? course, Mr. Natsume's a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shamspeare would have been much in common. Shakespeare interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that. Mr. Naruhodo, really? How rude. After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning? Well, now, must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember, and it was completely dark already. That failed actor chap was out at the time. Garrett noticed that there was no light from his room or something, I suppose. Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so I just sat in front of the fire up here. After 8 before Shamspeare got back. And the chap was up past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Of course, he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then. So I'm rather in the dark here. Thank you, that was very illuminating. Ha 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 ha. Everything alright, Mrs. Sato? Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garrett, you were up here in your room all evening. If I've understood correctly? Not a big fan of stairs. Oh, this blasted leg. And how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean. Ah! My leg. That's a very good point. I can't imagine you just hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it? I say, I know what you're thinking. That's a bally outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants. Why would I? That's a Death Grips album. How'd you know, Mr. Garrett? Lord of the game. It's the gas woman. The gas tells me everything. I breathe the gas. It tells me the future. The gas? Live gas reaction. Talk to me, gas. What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything? Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes. Yes, I more or less worked that out. Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to the properties via the main. Yes, I understand that too. Let me see if I can explain. Let's say if I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen? Well, obviously, the room would get brighter. Exactly. At the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment. What? They dim? Why? Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it easily uses more gas than usual. And when that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it? That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it? Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe. That's supposed to happen, though? Jolly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these pots are pretty hopeless, long worn out. And barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. Extinguish the lamps up here, and they go up brighter in the rest of the house. Oh, right, I see. By watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere. You've got it. Of course, when people come back home in the evening, or they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out the lamps in fires. Clever. In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. By watching the lights in there closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house. Gosh! Gee willikers. That's fascinating, Mr. Garrett. Absolutely fascinating. Oh well, nothing to it really. I can't really see what's going on, if that's going to help us with the case either. But I'd like to know why Mr. Garrett is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. Looks like there's more to it than idle curiosity. Well, we've done as much as investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again. Good idea, before we say gas more. Alright, later fucker. I'm out of here! Thinking out loud, truffle butter on a pussy. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now? Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me? Let me guess, you're talking about Mr. Holmes. He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost. Well, what if he's a ghost detective? His diabolic deductions are not of this world, that they've left me. Ah! Cursed! I'm cursed, I tell you. Well, it sort of hurts. Credit where credit's due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too. Yes, moving on. We have some wonderful news. Oh? Victim, what we all thought was dead, has come back to life again. Now, in the absolutely worst case, you can only be tried for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume? It's terrible. Oh. I'm stuck in this cell suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. You didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why do you have a mustache? Constant questions. Sorry to hear that. A selfish shyster. Oh, you're talking about IRS? Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? Are you dead or alive 2? Are you dead or alive 3? Are you dead or alive Extreme Beach Volleyball? Are you dead or alive 4? Are you dead or alive 5? Last round. If you are coming back to life, why bother dying? Wickedly wishy-washy, William. Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspeare was never actually dead in the first place. Yes, that might make sense. And I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'm sad to think it was our last. Oh. Oops. Mr. Natsume, does this mean you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspeare, didn't you? Yeah. I'm not saying another word. I might have a lawyer present. What do you think I am? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story. Why am I cursed like this? Story. Tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume. There's nothing to tell, JoJo's. But, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful you for helping me with that accursed case yesterday. He saw piss green, hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back. Hard to believe that was only yesterday. After the trial was over, I trudged my weary way back to my lowly lodgings. And that evening, past 9 it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspeare. Did go to the victim's room then. I didn't do anything wrong. I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time. What made you decide to go? I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting, and it developed into a discussion. We had to go out, so I bade him farewell. It ties in with what Mr. Garrett said, when the victim went out and came back after 8. We met again later that evening, around 9 and just after. I took him to some nice tea I brewed as a gift. It was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then. And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, weren't you? Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo! Juliet! Who was the stronger? It was the delightful debate. I wanted to scale their power levels. I wanted to know who could beat Satoru Gojo. I'm sure. Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare. The debate became very heated, so you slipped poison into Mr. Shakespeare's tea? No! Never! Not at all. Team Juliet won, that was me. And when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was a fighting fit, I swear it. Categorically. Natsume, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. And you have a cursed existence. I want to die. I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and that time I've learned that it's no place for me. It'd be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture. There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me. They all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. Have you ever had to knock on wood, Mr. Naruhodo? It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room, I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember, and then 1 week ago I moved into Briar Road. Why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable. Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money it spoke to me. The rent? Obviously there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed. Cursed? Cursed how? The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there. D-I-E-D there. Oh no! He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead. And no one could explain why. I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay. I realized it would mean I could buy more books. I signed the lease like lightning from Final Fantasy XIII. Brave or blinkered. After I moved in, I soon came to realize what I've done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was. Gosh, it was really so awful. And how did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened? At first, it was just a feeling. The feeling of beady eyes boring into my neck, watching me. Think it might just been your mind playing tricks on you? No, my mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. One long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to the place. Nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean? All of the souls who died in that room lean over me in my sleep and try to strangle me. That really is horrible. And now I come to think of it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shakespeare was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room. You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible. Yes, you're right, I know it. And that's why I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home. I think perhaps you should try to avoid accommodation with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history. I don't want to be the History Channel. Son knows how to make the man listen. Of course. Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well. Mr. Gerdeb? Yes! He knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again. True, I for one would never go near that place. Ah, perhaps. It may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements. Maybe because he's worried about their well-being? That seemed to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. The reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his let rooms. What do you mean he pays so much attention to the gas lamps? Oh dear, no, it's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please forget I said anything. Well, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. What's important is Mr. Shamspear isn't in fact dead at all. Once he's come around and able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released. Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right. Excuse me. Inspector Gregson. I couldn't help overhearing what you just said, and on that note, I have some good news and some bad news. Oh. Which do you want first? Always, every time, the bad news comes first. And hope is all you have. Hold on to it. That's my guiding principle. Right, well, in that case, the good news it is. Huh? Sorry, but it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way. Why didn't you ask me my preference? As you might have heard, fuck you, the victim, Mr. Shamspear, was just unconscious. He's come round now. Yes, we saw it happen all in its terrifying glory. He's still being treated by the doctors. Well, we managed to get a written statement from him yesterday. Or from him already. Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume? Oh, thank goodness it's all over then. I can leave this somber cell. Sorry, no, that's not on the cards. What? Why ever not, Inspector? Mr. Shamspear's implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night. Implicated someone? Oh, shit. You don't mean... I'm sorry to say I do, but yes, he pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsume. Ah! Sweet poison did he seeketh to end my life. That wickedest caitiff, the Seki Natsume. No! I'm afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations. No! And so, once again, Saseki-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court. I do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. Will be continued. Yeah, this is the second time this has happened to him. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out into nervous sweat all the time. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. Fuck. That's my line. You fuck. Good morning. Ah! Good morning, Mr. Natsume. Oh, now this! Another morning, another murder, and here I am again in this hellhole. Can't keep coming to court. I think he's right. It really does seem though as he's cursed. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid I have bad news. Oh! Oh! Mr. Natsume, good morning. Yes, morning. Yeah. Here we are again. Yeah, again. Judicial Assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquire, what's the bad news? Oh dear, you've heard, did you? You come in shouting at the top of your voice. People can't help hearing what you say. Oh, I'm sorry. You've done nothing wrong, Mr. Sato. Now what is it? Well, seems that the prosecution in today's trial will be led by Lord Beric Van Zieks. Van Zieks? Ah, you fuck shit. Oh, bottles of wine will be strewn about the place. Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter after all. I know what you're thinking, the legend of the Reaper that says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zieks is the prosecutor. Oh no! And if even a person's found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another. Experienced it firsthand. The man we successfully defended met the most terrifying end after his acquittal, right here in the Old Bailey. Ah, do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes boring into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper. Pair of petrifying barrels, potentially. Oh, even if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I'm innocent. You have to believe me. You more than anyone now. Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle. I promise. Promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Well, trial's scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom. Let's go. Let's go. Probably for the best. Oh? If he were here, I might just be tempted to rely on his help. That could be seen as weakness. If Lord Van Zieks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least, that's my gut feeling. Mr. Naruhodo. You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Well said. With the sword on my side and the spirit of Kazuma that it harbors. Show what a Japanese lawyer could do. I'll set you free with honor. Oh, yes. Ring of Honor. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Prosecution is a vampire. The defense is wearing the wrong outfit, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable death. Defeat, I mean. Not just my imagination, it's really there. Lord Van Zeeks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. Some time ago that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years, he hasn't appeared in court at all. And now, he's back in the courtroom. But for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. Still, this isn't a time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Saseki-san's trial. I'm sorry, hold on. The continuity error is bothering me. I gotta fix it. God damn it, fucking stupid flashback court trial thing. Stupid, dumb, stupid. Eh. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty? Haha. Absolutely, I had a feeling this American wasn't innocent before. I must say, I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right. Oh, well, I'd rather like how we're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually. I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick. I would agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight, or the missus will go through the roof. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here, and lead his flock to a righteous verdict. I'm religious now. Quite extraordinary to think the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of this jury. And that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt. 6 citizens of London, chosen at random. At least that's the idea. The prosecution would like to draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today. Very well, let us commence the trial. Lord Van Zeeks, your opening statement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict cannot be afforded to this eccentric Nipponese before it has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime. Namely, that of attempted murder in his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. To explain the circumstance of this crime, the prosecution calls its first witness to the stand. A detective responsible for investigating the scene, and the accused himself. Witness says, your names and occupations, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Saseki Natsume from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student to study your language and culture. Mr. Natsume? Yes, my lord, sir. I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken. You swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember as if it was yesterday. The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough. Believe me, this is the last place I want to be. Inspector, let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court. Right, you are, sir. The incident occurred at the Garadev household, where the defendant had his lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare. The defendant has already admitted to the visiting the victim on the night of the question. Mr. Shamspeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by strychnine. Strychnine? Oh shit! He was found in the following morning when the landlord suspected something was wrong, broke down the door. He got strike-nined. Oh no, we're gonna have to put him in a hydraulic press. Oh shit. Means I presume the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident. Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry or exit from the room impossible. Although the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare, lives to tell the tale. But he very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when we first found him. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have photographic print there that I took at the time to show how it showed. Yes, a chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much dead as fuck. That's right. Everyone present believed that was exactly what he was. I have to poop very badly. So I'm gonna play on autoplay until we get to a thing that I need to do. Okay. Turn that poop into wine. Turn that poop into wine. Turn that poop into wine. Sekuton is innocent, then why? Why was the victim accused him? Oh, Mr. Natsume, what if you say to the Sekuton? Oh god, I gotta poop again. Fuck. Why is this happening to me? Oh, Ace Attorney sponsored by food poisoning, apparently. Mr. Natsume claims to have tea on who have been harmless, presumably though, because I've been examined for traces of poison, haven't they? I did not think of that. Well, as it happens, no. We haven't been able to. Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect's substance. But you've overlooked something so important. Isn't that the first thing you should have done? I learned Nippone's friend is falsely incensed. Let me look at the history, by the way. I was pooping like the whole time. But why? It's simple enough. There was none left. Not a drop. Ron must have been very thirsty indeed. With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances. Only need a drop. But that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough. Lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question. I see. Thank you. The matter is clear. Cast your eyes over to the jury, my learned friend. Nani? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure. The recognition of the accused's guilt. The client's fate is all but sealed. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. He's right, I can feel all 6 of the jurors looking at me and stuff. I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and took some tea with me as a gift. Were you and your neighbor good friends then? Ah, no! We weren't friends, and not at all. Not at all! Never, ever! Simple no would have sufficed. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit? Mr. Shakespeare fancies himself having a great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we have much to talk about together. Come now, no Nipponese would understand the finer points of English literature. Now on the night in question, that was the topic of conversation as well, I presume? It was the day of my last trial when I was acquitted. I just arrived back at my lodgings when I ran into Mr. Shakespeare outside on the street. That was around 6 o'clock. We exchanged one or two pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at the time, though. I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. But did I have ill intentions? No, of course I didn't. Not one, not two, not any, not at all. Never, ever. Simple no would have sufficed, I feel. And tell the court what happened when you visited the victim's room. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. Literary debate about Shakespeare's work, I think you said, didn't you? Shakespeare? A very worthy topic of conversation, I must say. Oh, yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet. Who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley. Romeo and Juliet? Who was stronger? Now I'm gonna regret asking this, but how did the debate go? Well, we were both agreed that we reach a conclusion more quickly with the reenactment. We battled it out in a Greco-Roman style, naturally. What? Mr. Shakespeare had all sorts of costumes in his room for such a contest. What the fuck were you guys doing? When you say reenacting, you mean you were actually in costume? He was as Romeo, I was Juliet, after a vigorous, wild tussle. I, as Juliet, came out on top. A victory I'll cherish forever. What the fuck? Fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct? I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. I heard that he was too poor to have tea himself, you see. True, there was no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room. I wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. But everyone looking at me with such suspicion. My tea was harmless, of course it was. Do you have any basis for that statement, witness? Oh, my tea was... Oh, okay. Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there? That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would need to analyze it for poison. I'm gonna look at that, like, brick of soap. Well, Mr. Shampspeare was drinking from then. Came to the inside. He does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea. Oh, really? I've never noticed before. You never noticed? Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drop it like it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear. So many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture, and most of them are Japanese. This is the teacup of which Mr. Natsume was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of this cup is completely clean. I'm supposed to drink the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. I always gulp it down too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, if you just sip it a little by little, it goes cold. I shall instruct you in the proper way to take tea. Why is there pee on the floor? Okay. You say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume? Yes, definitely. And by heaven and earth, I swear it. The landlord was able to verify that, as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night. How is the landlord able to attest to this? Said it was the lamps, I believe. The lamps, Inspector. When tenants return to their rooms and start using gas, the lamps in the other parts of the house flicker. Yes, Mr. Garrett seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants. Only one key to Mr. Shampspeare's room, I know that for certain. Have locked the door himself from inside his room. Victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes. Oh, I'm right. My tea was harmless, completely harmless. If you take poison, you die. Everyone knows that. It's not that simple, I'm afraid. What do you mean? Strychnine takes some time to leave an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. How long does it take for symptoms to appear, then? According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison's consumed. Then the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation. There's a 30-minute interval when the poison is ingested by the onset of symptoms. Give me a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure. Oh dear, death by poisoning again? It's always so awful. 30 minutes is a long time. Apparently long enough for the victim to have locked the doors behind the accused after he left. Can't deny that. Further degrades Seki-san's alibi. I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. It spells it out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it. Very well, the court will add this report to the court record as evidence. Here's delayed onset of symptoms. Right. It could have been perfectly able to lock the door after the guest left. The argument still stands. The argument still stands, you say? Mr. Natsume has been saying, isn't it? None of them drank tea together that night. If they were poisoned by it, the victim would have been able to lock the door after the accused left later on. Exactly. Ah, me and my tea are innocent. Sweet and innocent, I tell you. I'm afraid, sir, that doesn't follow. You see, strychnine is a slow-acting poison. In other words, it takes time for symptoms to appear. You could have left the room up to 30 minutes after the victim drank the tea. As long as you did that, Mr. Shamspeare would have locked the door after you'd gone. But no! You drank the tea straight away! The battle over whether Romeo or Juliet was stronger, that came after the tea. Do you have any evidence to support that statement? In my great homeland, the Empire Japan, we have a saying. Drink tea while it's hot, baby. Pimps in the crib, y'all. Sure, a proverb will satisfy the prosecution. I'm afraid there's no conclusive proof to support the defendant's assertion. On the contrary, are there sufficient grounds to infer his guilt in this matter? Oh. That's the extent of their testimony, is it? If I could voice a personal opinion, Mr. Naruhodo. Of course, go ahead. Mr. Natsume's arguing for his innocence so adamantly and so persistently. And Inspector Gregson just brushes what he says aside. It's really quite infuriating. I agree. We need to find an inconsistency with what the inspector is saying, I think. Right, so, as such thing stands, the jurors are find Mr. Natsume guilty. Ingestion of a small quantity of strychnine. Caustic effects present 30 minutes after ingestion. High likelihood of the substance having been mixed in the tea the victim was drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing. Poisoning occurred around 1:30 a.m. on the 21st of February. Tests from the victim's pocket watch that appeared to have broken when the man collapsed after the delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. Mr. Natsume, you say it was 11 p.m. when you left to return to your room, correct? Yes! And Inspector Gregson, can we rely on the information in the medical report unconditionally? Of course we can. There's no problem with that report, Sunshine. Actually, I think there's a very big problem. Because there's a chronological inconsistency between it and the defendant's testimony. A chronicle? What are you on about? According to this report, he must have consumed the poison around 1:30 in the morning. And yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Ah! Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, there was poison in that tea Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room. How could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 full hours after the defendant left? Ah, same animation! The defense's argument is entirely reasonable, but how do you respond, Lord Van Zeeks? Wine. Give me wine. May forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would be best complement the contents of my hallowed chalice this luncheon. How could it have happened, you ask? Ow! I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea. A phantom? It's so hard to imagine the victim drank his tea after the accused left. For example, at the time stated in the medical report. Yes, at around 1:30. And Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor. In Japan, there's a well-known saying, drop it like it's hot. And in my country, there's an even more apt saying, there's nothing more refreshing than cold tea. Point is, if there was such a long gap, there'd be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned, other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, Counsel? Well, for example,